Okay.
So that part will be on the podcast too. So. Because that's something that Hanstat and I were talking about the other day, trying to grow that a little bit. So here we go. All right, guys, welcome to the 92 Mesh Group channel. This is Coach Coltharp, and welcome to the 92 Mesh Group channel. You're the home for the air raid offense on YouTube. And I met you in Nashville. I'd reached out to you one time before, but we were never really able to connect. And then when I talked to you in Nashville, man, I was just so impressed. I told you I wanted to get you on, so I'm glad we were able to make that happen. So tell us a little bit about just kind of what QBIQ is.
Well, QBIQ is first of all, George, it's awesome to be on your channel. Appreciate you guys having us. We're very excited about what QBIQ is. QBIQ is basically a pre-snap reading system. Works with every offense that's out there. It just basically closes the gap of why pros make decisions and not getting away, but just getting through the normal evolution of having to go through the progression-oriented reads of going through every single one. It just basically helps you get to a process of elimination and get to your result faster.
Yeah, and I will tell you that part that you just said is what really changed my whole idea, because when I saw your stuff on Twitter last year when I was getting into building the channel, and I thought, air raid quarterback play, it automatically comes in as to, yes, you need to do that. But then when I started looking at it, I was like, well, I don't know, we read grass, we do this, and how is this, do I really want to try to delve into something that's going to bring me out of tried and true kind of air raid principles? And then when I watched you messing around with the cards and it was like a tarot reading, man, I was like, yo, this is wild, and watching you, do the one level, and then you're like, yo, let's go level 2. And it's like, boom. And it's like, boom. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. But then when you handed me your card, and on the back of your card, it said, and I meant to bring it in here with me so I could read what it said on the back of your card, but it's like,
here for you,
it's like bullet number 1. It fits with all offenses. We're not trying to change what you do. Is that what it says?
You're going to make me put my glasses. It's small writing. There's basically in fitting touchdowns. There's 6 points, 6 bullet points. And number 1 is college and high schools are having huge success using QBIQ. But then number 2, going to what you just said, QBIQ does not change your offense one bit. It just makes it happen a lot faster, which means everybody gets better. You get the ball to the receiver faster. That means he has a bigger window to run. Yak will happen. It also makes your linemen better because they don't have to block as long. It just there's a main reason why 100 quarterbacks graduate from college every year. Really, 800 and so graduate every year, and I would say about 100 of them are physically okay to do the job at the NFL level. But there's one reason they don't, and it's because up here.
Yeah.
Speed of decisions.
And so I read that, and then so after I read your card, I started paying a little bit more attention, because I was actually up there with some of the Coach Tube guys and meeting with the Team Extreme people, and we were all in the same place. Yeah. And so I started paying attention to what you were doing, and you had the little video going, and I thought to myself, he's really teaching what I call idea, which is inside the box, depth, eyes, and alignment. Mm-hmm. But you're doing it at such a higher level than what I do it, because you actually talk about demeanor of the defenders and giving and that quarterback painting that picture. So kind of talk a little bit about that kind of system and share with the guys, and guys, stay tuned to the end of the video, by the way, because Coach is going to be gracious enough. He's going to give you guys a code that's going to be a discount for his system. And I'm telling you right now, I never bring anybody on the channel who I don't think is worthy. And I also don't bring anybody on the channel who's cost prohibitive, and you're going to love the deal he has for you. So stay tuned to the end of that, and we'll get that to you in a second. But go ahead, Coach, and talk to us a little bit about what you do.
So, well, basically, and I'll tell you, I'm going to start from a result-oriented thing. If I can talk a little bit about the evolution of this, playing quarterback for such a long time, I'm very OCD about how it operates. I've always been very mental. And rather than just going through the normal, what kind of information can I gather fast? And if you think about some of the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, who are you going to think about? You're going to think about Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana. You think about maybe even Dan Marino for those old guys. He led the league for a long time with 61,000 yards. So the bottom line is, we just mentioned dudes that are not fast at all.
Mm-mm.
In fact, they can outrun a tree. But the bottom line is that they have the same goal everybody else does, and that's to be very, very successful. And for them to be successful, they didn't have the side door exit. So their pressure, their environmental pressure with that one goal is to be successful. They had to think faster, gather more information faster. And this is the difference between the guys that graduate who don't go on to the NFL and the guys who do. And then the guys that actually get much, much better, they understand this process. And so here's what happened, the evolution of this thing. I would watch it when I started privately training. I would watch a lot of film, and I would look at guys like, for instance, I remember Ross Malmgren. He's now at Charleston Southern, and started as a freshman, ended up getting hurt. But bottom line is, this kid, he would do certain things. I would say, why are you still looking at that at this point of your drop? You should have known pre-snap that wasn't going to be good. And so anyway, I started making them go through almost like cults. When we saw cover 2, what works? 2, 4, 6, 7, bang 9. Those are the routes that work with the grain of that defense. The others are not good unless you have a concept break, which we explain it in the book. So the bottom line is drawing clarity. Now, I would build this into their system, and the way that I would teach them is this. So you walk to the line of scrimmage, you see it's cover 2, by pro fundamental, because pros understand this. They can't tell you this stuff because they've never been taught like this, but this is exactly what they do as a fundamental. So it's funny, if you ever introduce this to them. I remember I introduced it to Jake Plummer about 3 years ago down in Orlando. And he said, we sat there for about 3 hours, and he was like, how the heck did you come up with this? It's just never been done like this. You are literally jumping the gap to pro thinking instead of going through that evolution of progression. So anyway, so I was like, I would teach, I kept it in-house, and I taught my dudes over like a 6-year period. Then I started introducing it in my camps, and I would do small little booklets and give those out at my camps. And then I was like, you know what, this really has to go out to the masses. And so I created a book that was specific on what would a coach want in this book? Because like we said, this works with every single offense out there. It's not an offense it doesn't work with. There's certainly some that it reduces, right? If you're a triple option team that throws the ball one time a game, then it reduces, kind of the scenario. But that one time a game may be important. Anyway, bottom line is, it became a book, and chapter 1 and chapter 7 is chapter 1, learn your playbook like a pro. And this is the way I used to playbook and learn my playbook. And it's just a better format, but it was read it, draw it, run it 5 times each. So you're reading it 5 times, you're drawing it 5 times, and you're actually virtual reality getting up and running the play 5 times. Then chapters 2 through 6, you learn the system, you learn the QBIQ system. Now that you know your playbook extremely well, and now that you know the QBIQ system really well, on chapter 7, you actually then go back, you marry the two, and you go back and you actually go through it. And so when you now look at your playbook or your play at hand, you walk to the line of scrimmage, you see that it's cover 2, and you got a post and an out over here on your right, and you got bread and butter curl flat on your left, which is an 8 and a 3, and then you got a 1 and a 4, and it's cover 2. Well, right now 2, 4, 6, 7, bang 9 are the routes that work. Well, shoot, there's only one route that works. The 8 and the 3. The 8's a pick. The out's a decapitation. The flat over here is going to get snuffed by the corner. And now I'm very early to the linebacker, because he's now going to be my key. Because if we drop back and do it the old progression way, I'm going to read, don't like it, come back here, bread and butter. Where's everybody at? Throw the window. Well, instead, now I'm going to be on the problem key, and now I get a chance to bait better. Because of the way the system progresses you so fast through your read, you'll be on your key much, much faster. So puts you in complete control of the game and slows it way down. So I don't care what offense you run, it just pours gas all over it.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that kind of surprised me. And we had a impromptu online clinic breakout during the bowl season. A bunch of us were on, and we were watching the Carolina game together. and then a couple of guys came in, and we ended up opening the Zoom room up, and Drew Piscopo and a bunch of those internet guys came on, and we started talking about why cross. And what Drew had started talking about, he's like, man, believe it or not, we end up hitting that backside curl dig or post dig more than anything else when we run rye cross because of, the too deep shell. And it's like, they jump, and it's like, but my guys already know that when those guys are sitting there pre-snap, that it may end up going 1, 2, 3. And so when I was listening to you in Nashville, it just kind of resonated with me on that deal. And I'm like this, even if you don't necessarily change the way you progress and read your play, having the idea and understanding what demeanors is, because part of your book, you talk about what a DB looks like, what his stance is and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely. Well, so we teach the art of war, right? The book, The Art of War. You got to understand your opponent as well as you understand yourself. And as you understand the baselines of each defense, how they organically work, what happens is, because, for instance, cover 2, you got safeties that have the responsibility for deep, and the corners are now containment also for run. And then they switch responsibilities for cover 4. All of a sudden, these guys are in run support, and the corners are back. So essentially what that does is you look at, if you have a post-snap responsibility before I cover, is to make sure I understand what's going on inside the box. They're going to have a different alignment. So we want to make sure we understand body language to the T. And if we can understand body language, that's what's called another accelerator. It's an accelerator to accelerate you through the read. So you get basically ID the defense. Our big deal is ID the D, right? And our deal is DID technically. But so once we do that, now we understand, okay, this is what should work. What of our current play package should be a go call? What should we be good with? What works with the graded defense? And then your final filter to that is what's situationally appropriate. Do I have to change it? Peyton Manning, change it before the play. So essentially, it just for the quarterback to be able to do that, this book, even though it seems big, it's not. Most of it's a workbook, right? So that old that old pencil to paper attitude of Harvard says, 75% of your memorization will happen better when utensils used writing it down. And as Trent says it, he likes to use it in red because it's the most memorizable color.
Yeah, I remember listening to him talk. He was saying that.
Yeah. So the bottom line is this helps progress you through it, and not only that, working with the system and making you understand your playbook so much better. So when you got to play and you know how to ID the D, hey, that guy's in big base, that means he's in run support first, right? And then also once you understand the baselines, not every stance is going to be the same, but I guarantee you that particular player, you look for him on game tape.
Right.
What means his skinny base? What means his big base? What does that mean in his world? Okay, now I know it. Now I know how to ID you for this game coming up.
And I was just thinking about something. Just you and I were talking before we came on about how this is applicable to coaches in particular. Obviously we're talking about training the quarterback, but sometimes you got to train the trainer. And so as a coach, I guess I've always thought about that, but I never really thought about that. And so that gives me a more productive way to watch film, as in, okay, let me identify this kid's base when he's run fitting. Let me look what he is when he's going to turn. Is he zone turning? Is he man turning?
Yep.
Is he doing those kind of things? And so as a coach, that would help me be able to watch film a little bit better. But something else I was going to ask you, because you just piqued my mind. Air raid guys are notorious for letting quarterbacks check plays.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm
a big fan of that, by the way.
How would this system make an air raid quarterback more efficient as far as, is it because now if I see a 2-deep shell or I'm kind of getting a cover 4 deal, I can check to my cover 4 beater with my Z receiver instead of maybe checking to something differently?
100%. I mean, first of all, he's going to be situationally smart. We teach, look, the number one reason you're going to win the game is going to be in field position, because every single stat goes into field position. Okay. So we have to understand field position, have different mentalities throughout it, but within those sticks, we also have to have another layer of understanding. And so if we're second and one from the 50-yard line, there is nothing wrong with 3rd and 1. It's the best opportunity ever to go downtown.
Yep.
And so we got so coach is running 4 verts. I mean, I'm looking at Bender to bender to hole shot all day long. I'm not thinking about checking out of nothing. But if they're in cover 4 and I've got, if I've got cover 4, 2nd and 1 from the 50, and they're in cover 4, I might throw a flash fake and pull my inside receiver into a dig and throw a post over the top. No matter what, I want to get the defense off balance and put 2 left shoes on them, never letting them feel comfortable. Throw that thing, because there's nothing wrong with 3rd and 1. So yeah, absolutely. They're going to be, because their understanding of how defenses work through our book, because they understand the structures and how they want to operate, they'll know better how to hurt that defense smartly with their situational filter. Like, for instance, if it's, cover 2 and coach has got a certain thing on and it's 2nd and 9. Well, I may just change that up to, if I got twins on both sides, I may change that to double slant, right? Where I've got options. I might change, I don't want the whole first down. And that's what the quickest thing they're going to get out of this is situationally smart decisions, also working with the grain of that defense.
Right.
And, so yeah, they're going to be a lot better checkers.
And a lot of us kind of give our kids 3 plays, and what we tell our kids is, you can always check down, but I don't really want you checking up, so to speak. If I've got Y stick called, you can check to a screen or you can check to a run, but I don't want you to check deep ball unless, we get press 0 man and we know we got a beater or something. But generally what we'll put on the wristband is it'll say like 666 run. So, we'll have 4 verts, then you can check to slot fade hitch, or you can check to a run based on what you see. But
that's a smart way to control the offense when you don't fully trust the quarterback, right?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. That's kind of where we do what you're teaching the quarterback how to do by himself. And trust me, I would much rather have a kid who can do it by himself, because, to be honest, as I get older and older in this, what I've understand is it doesn't matter how much I know on Friday night. It's how much that they can execute. And there's nothing better. And people talk about Trent all the time. And this is what I think about when I think about Trent. Probably the biggest compliment that people give him that they think is when they're being disrespectful is they say he was just a game manager. And I'm like, yes, perfect. Dude didn't turn. He didn't turn over the ball. You know what his goal was that year? His goal was, he was actually praying one night, and he said, what does this team need? What do I need to be for this team? And he came up with this comment, whatever, when he was kind of going up there. He said, I need to be the best teammate I can be. Mm-hmm. And his everyday focus was being the best teammate he can be. And in that frame of management, and just give it out to the playmakers, to hand it off to the right guy, be sure you're in the right play call. I mean, those are the things that he did. So, yeah. And so, so many guys, they feel like, if you're just, completion percentage is important, and air rate is about getting the ball to guys who can score as fast as possible. And when they take that away short, we'll throw it deep. And when they take that away deep, we'll run the ball, Yeah. And at its essence, that's really what it is. And so that's kind of what, kind of got me excited about what you were doing. Talk a little bit about that flashcard game, if you don't mind. And I know you might have some stuff you want to share with us, but that was kind of neat too. Yeah. Well, the flashcards are, they're just a deck of cards, but they're pretty special. They've got 4 levels to it. They've got, I'll show you a few of them. I even have some screenshots I can share with you. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I'll show you some examples. But basically, it's got the how to play card. It gives you what are the 4 levels. And the 4 levels are basically this. It's got your single routes. So, like there's the go route. It's got different, your different routes, right? And so it's got the routes on there. But then the level 1 would be that single route versus defense, right? So you've got different defenses you run against. For instance, cover 1, right? Right. Without the glare. So anyway, and then what happens is the coach will flip it over, and you might have a couple quarterbacks in the room. I always do it with a bunch of quarterbacks in the room. We play beast at the table. We'll flip it over, and the kid, like for instance, cover 1, and you have a dig route on. We would sit there and say, yes, quick. That would be the answer. And the reason we say quick is because they're bringing an extra backer.
because you're going to have 5 guys rushing.
Right.
So essentially they're saying, okay, my feet have got to be quick. They don't ever stop the step count. What they do is you got to just get through it faster, right? The measurement's got to be smaller and the tempo's got to be fast. So anyway, but they're understanding that, hey man, it's cover 1. I got to get the ball out fast. Hey, it's cover 2, and say it's a slant. I say, yes, that does work. Or if it's a cover 2 and it's an out route, that does not work. So they'd say no. So anyway, then we move on to situations. So situation might be 2nd and 10, and coach, there's a hitch on there, and whether it works or not, you got to audible, and you got to audible to the suitable call. So like for instance, if it was cover 2 and you got a hitch into it, he would have to audible to something that works into cover 2 that's appropriate for 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's about how fast it happens, isn't it? I mean,
so,
that's
well, and what was great was at the quarterback roundtable that we had at the AFCA.
Yeah, I missed that.
Oh man, it was unbelievable. We had 30 college quarterback coaches and offense coordinators in the room. And I was going
next year. I'm sneaking in, just so you know.
You got to go. Absolutely. And we were going through this and how this works. And they were loving the fact, because as you flip the cards over, you're able, as a coach, you're able to talk through how you would handle the situation. So now basically your personality is getting spoken into your player's brain, so he can start outputting the same response, not just word wise, but physically. So he's going to emulate more what you want on the field as you would want it to be played. And so just imagine going through this thing, because you also have full play package, and you got full play package for a situation, and you get to explain to him how you would handle it on every situation. What happens is this guy starts playing in such a way that's much like you would want it to be played. And also at the same time, the conversations that you would be able to, if game week, just imagine this. You hand him a play this week. This is what I like this play. We're going to install it this week. You won't even have to explain the progression to him, because of the QBIQ system. He'll already understand how you want it to be ran. I mean, and that's essentially
so
what the system
does. Let me ask you this, because I know I'll probably get this question too. At what age would you start a quarterback in this system? Or what's the youngest guy that you're working with?
It's a funny answer, because certainly there's some stuff that's technical, like for instance, the ID chapter, where we talk about pre-snap, post-snap, it's the most heavy chapter in the book. We simplify it by one sheet where you could just follow that and you're fine. But when you get to the ID sheet, the ID chapter, that is a little bit thicker than most. But other than that, I mean, I'll show you. In fact, here I'll show you how easy this is for the age. See if I can get this on here.
Hey, I tell people all the time, we're coaches, not computer technicians, man. So we try to make it work.
Is it working right now?
I'll tell you in a second. There's a little delay, so on the YouTube screen, because I see what you have, and let's see.
How about now?
Yeah, you're up.
I didn't know what I was doing. It's back to that coaches and technology comment you made.
Yeah, all right, you're up.
It out. All right, so let me go to one of the earlier chapters. We sit here and like, it's just easy. We'll go with cover 6 first.
Hey, and while you're finding that, I do want to let everybody know, just so you guys know, Coach and his partner, Craig Nall and those guys who do this, they also work with the Elite 11. So I mean, these aren't just some dudes who are on the street who are selling books and stuff. I mean, they work national quarterback camps. They've worked with Tua and all of those guys, and so this is a legit deal. I didn't know. I just reminded myself of that when I saw it when it was talking about Elite 11 Academy. So you teach the Elite 11 quarterbacks this stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And you should see their eyes just brighten up when they start going through this, because at first it's just paper, right? It's just paper and graphics on them. But once they start pulling it together and you see the whole system organically work together, then the next thing you know is the kid just starts going. I remember I had a kid, he came in, let's see what happened to him. His coach called posts and outs. And this was five years ago or so. He called posts and outs. And it's funny because high school kids don't really know stuff. And it was cover 2. And he turned to his coach because his coach would never let him audible. Turned to his coach and he said, "Coach, this won't work." And the coach goes, "Run the play." It's like the coach didn't know either that it wasn't going to work, apparently. So he drops back and he throws it about 7 rows into the onto the like the 7th lane of the track, which that's a little overacting. He didn't have to do it that bad, but the bottom line was he didn't want to throw a pick or a decapitation. So because the inside post is not going to have an MOR, right, a mandatory outside release,
right,
going to work for his best release, and he's going to get covered by the safety, which is going to leave the corner facing the out route, and the out route's going to get smashed. So the bottom line is there's going to be nobody there, and their back was in blocking on not on a call, so or on a route. So bottom line is, it basically, I remember he came in, he's like, "This just happened, and I'm starting to figure it out." And they can best apply this in the 7-on-7. That's where it starts really opening their eyes.
Right.
So anyway, when we look at this right here, when we look at cover 3, we look at the routes that work. So basically, anytime we always talk about our little keys, we call them mental mechanics. Mental mechanics are, for instance, like 2, 4, and 6 can never be discounted on pre-snap in any defense. Also, with corners with skinny feet, like a cover 3 corner, that means he's bailing, which means any hard breaking route is going to be good. So we always say 0 through 6 is good. So 0, hitches, quick outs, slants, the bigger route, the curl, the comeback, the dig. Those are all good. We draw those in a color that we can memorize. And we also have the bang 8 and the seam, the hash 9, bang 9 on the hash. So then on the other side, we sit there and draw the routes that don't work. So as you get a young guy and you do this and you explain it to him, he starts to figure it out. The flashcard game, I've had 9-year-olds absolutely rock the flashcard game. And what happens is, which is interesting, they'll go and watch NFL games and they'll be able to call it out, or they'll go to college games. And I remember I have a kid in North Carolina. He's tearing it up right now. Got invited to the Hall of Fame game for 8th graders down in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
And he went down there and started over a kid who has 3 offers, who's from Florida, and actually absolutely tore it up. And they were like, he's the second best quarterback here, and 3 of those quarterbacks had offers, and he didn't have it yet. But because of his understanding of what he's looking at as an 8th grader, he's tearing them up. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, if you know what the defense is in and you know what works, you're already way past.
It's a cheat code.
It's a cheat code.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So anyway, it's simply the gap to start thinking like a pro quarterback. It's the fundamentals.
So late middle school is kind of the answer. Late middle school with the basics as you get into JV varsity with the heavy stuff. I
would say here in Georgia, we start seeing a 2 safety look, when we hit 6th grade.
Really?
So we're doing it at 6th grade and finding huge success. I remember probably the best 8th grader in the country in terms of touch and feel. His name's Jeremy Hiklinski. If you get a chance, look that video. I've been coaching him since he's 4th grade. That guy's thrown for 14,500 yards. Okay. That guy in 6th grade, they ran 2-man on him because he's throwing against everybody. They ran 2-man on him. He had never seen it. But I've been telling him in the flashcard game over and over, you cannot throw posts in any 2 safety look from the outside. The first post they call, he throws a post pattern for a pick. And I get on film later with him and get a chance to yell at him. It's one of my favorite things to do. And he starts to realize, oh my gosh, this stuff is actually right. And it's just follows the fundamentals of football based on what the defense's goals are.
Now, you mentioned something, and I don't know, we didn't really talk. We've been talking about the book, but some of the other stuff that you do, because I know we had to move up the time of our chit chat because you're doing something with a kid later on tonight. You do video conferences with coaches and quarterbacks and things like that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I do consultation with coaches all the time. We do clinics across the nation where, coaches are actually invited for free. We encourage them to bring the quarterbacks in the skill position. Because imagine if you got wide receivers on it, they're going to know if they're the on-call guy and they've got to sit there and if they're running a curl, they see the overbuzz by the linebacker. They know they're going second window, right?
Right.
So it's essentially, it's good for everybody to be on it. But yeah, we work with everybody. Coaches, I'll give you an example. The very first college that used it, in fact, I have the stats of that. This is 3 years ago. Here, I'll pull it. I'll share that with you. Share, double tap. Now I'm learning. Is it?
Uh-oh, you're gonna be dangerous, coach.
Where is it now? Is it on the right one?
Yeah, give me a second. There's a little bit of delay on the other screen, so I have to hold up and get there. But yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's says we look good on mobile too. I don't know where you are.
Do you see the stat sheet up yet?
Does your screen say we look good on mobile too still?
Oh, let me pull this over here.
There you go. Yeah. I was looking at the Zoom thing. Dang it, Zoom should give us some money. We just gave a plug, man. I do love this Zoom thing. I have to think, like I told you before, Randy Jackson and Damon West got me hooked on Zoom. So, and I know Ron Mackey does it a lot as well. So this is the college stats.
This is the very first college that used it. Now, I knew the offensive coordinator prior to the season, and we were talking about technique, and he's a big technique guy. And I was telling him my philosophy on technique, and he really hit home with him. So I started to build some credibility. So next thing you know is they start out 0-4, and this is they lost. And then this right here is where we installed it. Like I talked to him on Saturday after the game, and I said, "Hey Rob, how'd your game go?" And he told me, and I said, "Listen, this system will help you. I'm just writing it out as we speak. I mean, I've got it, basically already written down, but here's how it works." He went to installing it that whole week inside his quarterback's head and the way that he was going to play call. His play call was smarter because you become a lot better play caller with this. And so here's what happened. So they went from 0-4 to finishing 5-1. They went from 15 and a half first downs to 24 first downs per game. They went from third down efficiency of 22% to 39%. Total offense went from 277 to 481. That's all, pretty much what you need to see right there. 277 to 41. And let me give you the big one. This is one of my favorites. Absolutely one of my favorites. Rushing yards. Rushing yards was 61.5 to 240. Now, why was it that? If it's a passing game scenario, if this is such a passing game strength for you, well, what happened? You threw it on this down, but you threw to the wrong guy or called the wrong play. Second down, you did the same thing, and now you're in a bad third down. Well, that's why you got 22% as your percentage. Yeah. So bottom line is you go from 61 yards to 240 because your playbook was always wide open, because you were always in the right down and distances.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, giving yourself, I mean, nobody has a call for 3rd and 18,
Exactly.
Draw our screen and let's punt. That's kind of where people are on that deal. But you're right. Staying in front of the chains or staying in manageable distances because of the decisions that you're making. And I tell quarterbacks all the time, there's nothing, like you said, and I heard you say it earlier, there's nothing wrong with second down, bro. It is what it is. But as long as it's not complete going the other way and, taking care of the football and doing those kind of things.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's always because of the decisions of the quarterback and how well he's been prepared. Us as coaches making sure we got a guy that's prepared. And so this is something we use in the book. It's the down and distance chart. So they're making sure that we understand what the median line is: 1st and 10, 2nd and medium, 3rd and short. That is the normal down and distance on the way to a first down. Okay. And it's like the red light, green light game. If you get in the green light, then that's time to go deep, so long as you're respectful towards field position. And if it's red light, we want to be respectful towards, hey, it's 2nd and 10. Let's not try to get the whole thing. There's a reason why a couple of years ago there was 19,105 NFL throws. Over 17,400 of those were under 9 yards. That means over 76% they're throwing 9 yards or less. Okay, so what that ultimately means is we have to understand our situation and be smart. Go for those Peyton Manning type percentages, and then smartly throw deep. And there's 4 reasons to throw deep, but obviously these green lights are a part of those 4 reasons. And, I always tell my guys that, if you don't understand the chart, understand this. Second and long, throw short. Second and short, throw long. Just understand that.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, and there's something to be said for all of this stuff, because I think you mentioned this when you were talking to Jake Plummer about, bridging that gap and actually thinking like a professional. I mean, and really that's what we all strive to do. I mean, even as a teacher or a police officer or, a doctor, we all want to be professionals. We want to be masters of our craft. And what you're doing is you've created a system to teach young players how to begin with the end in mind, so to speak, the old Stephen Covey thing. And that's like I said, man, I just sat in that room and they're over there talking to Craig, and I got a little distracted when he started talking about Cajun bread, because that was something special there. I had to get him on the channel just to talk about Cajun bread.
Hey, it's something else. I broke my keto diet for it. I flew out to Dallas. We went to a golf tournament, and he had that Cajun bread there, and it was over. The keto.
There's a website, guys. I don't remember what it is. Just Google Craig Nall's Cajun bread. I mean, when he described it, it's like he hand makes this stuff. Like it's just
outrageous.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I was a little distracted by the Cajun bread there for a minute, but I just kept finding myself listening to more and more of what you were saying. And I became a fan real quick because it makes sense to me. And there's, obviously you can data drive it and talk about that other stuff, but just anything that helps kids make decisions faster is always going to be my friend. I mean, I'm that guy at practice that I'll stand behind the quarterback and go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When I clap, if that ball ain't gone, we got problems. I had a guy message me today and say, what do you say to people who say the air raid's a great offense if you can block it? And I said, well, every offense is great if you can block it, but sure. You have to be smart. It's a timing offense, and you got to learn to get rid of the football. And I mean, I think in any offense, and I think the air raid has just become prominent because obviously, Pat Mahomes is in the Super Bowl this weekend, and then you got Cliff up there, and then of course, Leach and all them, and Lincoln and all those guys, and doing those kind of things. But I think they're showing that the air raid guys are learning to make these quicker decisions. And that's why, they're becoming very accurate, quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, George, we've got a whole chapter devoted to timing, and we talk about the best tandem in the world, Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, and Jerry Rice.
Absolutely.
Why was it so special? Because the bottom line is we talk about the goals of the DB, both in zone and in man, and we don't ever want to let them to get to step 3. Their 3 goals are. What their 3 goals are. Their third goal, we don't want to let that happen. So, but essentially, if we're doing the right things in terms of reads, we get that ball out fast. We can even be a little bit more inaccurate, right? Because the space is there for the
right.
Contesting of the ball will not be there because the DB will be farther away. But if we're sitting there, we got the wrong footwork, which is in the timing chapter as well. But if we throw quick, we understand who the right guy is, and we throw quick, the DB doesn't have a chance to knock it down, or obviously pick it, which is the worst. But that essentially timing. And I always teach my guys a mantra. I make them say this 100 times, starting in a 24-hour time period of 7 o'clock on Thursday nights to Friday night at 7 o'clock. Right before they take the field, they do their last 10 reps. But it's I drop fast, I read fast, I throw fast. I drop fast, I read fast, I throw fast. 100 times, and they section that out all the way throughout, because
that's nice.
Mentally, if you slot and mode your guy mentally, what's going to happen is physically and how he want to think, what he wants to think, and the way his feet will operate is to make that happen. So you're putting him in a mental mode of doing exactly what you're talking about, operating fast.
Well, I could sit here and listen to you, talk about quarterbacks all night long, because I'm just enthralled by it. Guys, I did want to let you know, Chris and I just talked about it. He's going to be at Air Raid Nation. We're gonna, I'm about 90% sure we're going to be able to get him up. So he'll be at Air Raid Nation and do some kind of presentation, either formally or informally. We'll work all of that out at some point, but he'll be around for you guys to talk and hang out with, and definitely at the social. and be there. So if you're going to come to Air Raid Nation, check that out, because that's going to be an awesome clinic in May, and we'll get you some more information on that. Coach, how can they get in touch with you on Twitter, Instagram, email, all that good stuff?
Well, our company handles are all QBIQ system. So Instagram, QBIQ system, Twitter, QBIQ system, YouTube, same thing. Our website, which is pretty informative, is QBIQsystem.com. We try to keep it simple. It's a concussion sport.
QBIQ system, and that's no S, not systems. It's just system.
Yep.
Yeah, QBIQ system. So you can go over to his website. You can purchase all kind of stuff. They've got some mechanic tools. I know there was one I looked at, with the throw-in motion thing. I thought was pretty cool.
Watch the video on that.
Yeah, there's some mechanic tools.
The difference between throwing the right signature. There's a reason why Jason Garrett's dad, would have Jason and I throw constantly over a crossbar, but you can't carry a crossbar everywhere with you.
Right.
Take this wherever you go. And
I have my quarterbacks do that too. We try to get as close to the goalpost as possible and throw, and we play catch in the back of the end zone, and we do that. The key to using that is when you get out different separations is throwing as hard as you can, but still achieve target. Right. It does something to your body to make you have that Tom Brady arc release and snap. The whole goal is you've got like a fishing rod. When you hit it right. Yeah.
Snap, then the hand snaps. It's basically almost at one time. Boom. And then that ball gets the exact same.
I got that drill off of old Mike Bellotti VHS back in the day from Oregon when he had what was the kid? That was Joey, the kid that played for Detroit, was the quarterback. And I can't remember, Joey something or another. He was really good.
Yeah. Who came out of Oregon or something?
Yeah. It was some old film when he was a freshman, and they were doing that drill, and I was like, that's a great drill. And I heard him talk about it, kind of same thing. And guys, that's what you need to understand. You see how when Chris gets into this stuff, he starts talking. I mean, he knows all those tricks. I mean, he played, in college, he's a record-breaking college guy, played a long time in the Arena League and some other things like that. So, but check that out. And then also, like I said, on the website, he has a store in there. You can go get the books, the flashcards, videos. You can sign up for consultations and stuff like that. And you got us a code, Coach?
That's what I wanted to remind you. I made it simple. I had the guys put it out. It's 92 mesh without a space. So it's 92 mesh.
Yeah, so if you go to the coupon, you get the book or whatever, put in 92 mesh, and I think Chris gave you guys a 20% discount, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and one quick note on that. Currently, there is already a 10% discount on the first string package, but the team packages is where you're going to save because they're already massively discounted.
Great.
The team package and the program package are massively, so you'll take another 20% off. So
like I said, hey guys, check it out, look at it. I can tell you that I'll be using some of this stuff. I'm gonna pick up a book myself to look at, because I like the thought process of being a quarterback. Being an offensive lineman by trade, as I've learned the passing game over the years, and I like to sit down with guys and who can explain to me, what it's like so I can understand it to the best of my ability. But I think it was great. I appreciate you coming on the channel, Coach. I'll get with the woman that runs everything. If you guys ever meet Miss Haley, you'll see why Chris and them are always on time. She's a breaker now, and she keeps everybody popping. And so we'll get with her, and hopefully we can get you up here in May into Fayetteville, and you guys, as always, this kind of stuff is how you learn how to spin it to win. So just I appreciate you, Coach. And like I said, hit him up at QBIQ Systems on Twitter, and they'll get back to you. Either him or Chet or one of the guys will get back to you and help you out. And if you have any questions about it, I'm pretty sure he can give you some more information. So we appreciate you having you on, Coach.
All right, George. Appreciate you.
All right. Bye-bye.